Episode 1 of The Acolyte. Well, I got a lot to say, and if you were there during the 4-hour watch party, then you probably got some of my sentiments. Before we begin, I want to say there's a 10% sale going on right now on theorysabers.com. Use code THEORY10. The show starts off 100 years before the end of Revenge of the Sith, and I say this because the opening text was 100 years before the rise of the Empire. And that's not 100 years before The Phantom Menace, but 100 years before, well, the end of Revenge of the Sith. The premise in this show is that there are Jedi that have lived in peace for hundreds of years, until now, where a dark side user grows their powers in the shadows. Now, I'm not going to start this breakdown in, order and succession of what's happening. I'm going to give you guys the details and everything right off the bat. So, at the end of this episode, we see the evil guy, the master behind all of this. The Sith, if you will. I mean, it's a evil guy talking about killing Jedi with a red lightsaber. Call it a dark Jedi, a dark Acolyte, a Sith, whatever you want to call it. It ain't a good guy. So keep that in mind as we continue the breakdown. The show begins with May. This is the evil twin, hell-bent on killing 4 Jedi Masters on some crusade for reasons that we're not too privy about yet. She enters a village, gets into a bar, challenges Carrie Ann Moss to the death, who I was hoping was going to stay around for a little longer, gets bested by the Jedi Master until she starts throwing metal daggers, and then finally throwing one last dagger at the barkeep, to which Jedi Trinity, I like to call her, saves the day by stopping it, but leaving her guard down to die by a dagger. Now look, I don't want to nitpick, but I was surprised to learn that daggers are a little more lethal than lightsabers after the Kenobi show and how Anakin's lightsaber went right through Reva's chest, which wasn't effective. And then again, Vader's lightsaber going through adult Reva and being ineffective. I don't know if that's a testament to lightsabers or to Reva's absolute OP power levels, but I guess we'll find out someday. We see May's lightside twin, Osha, who wakes up on a ship when her buddy brags about the wild night that he and the crewmates had on Nar Shaddaa. Now, a bit of a backstory, Nar Shaddaa is just kind of like Star Wars Vegas. There isn't much law, you can kind of do anything you want, it's a crime world ran by the Hutts, and there's just a lot of scum and villainy there. We see Nemoidians enter the ship, and they no longer have their Asian accent that George Lucas had them with all throughout the prequel trilogy. Maybe these guys have a dialect, maybe they come from a different part of the galaxy. I don't know. Now, the thing that's making the rounds on the internet is that there's fire in space. Well, there was also fire in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, when R2 saved the day at the beginning of the film. However, I like to think that more of a suspension of disbelief, and this one's more of like a let's kind of use the fire to do something here. They focus on it a little bit too much, which just sort of takes you out of the scene. That's when people start questioning, wait, is this really possible in Star Wars? And well, hey, it's Star Wars. None of this is really possible, but that's when you start to get the questions. Anyways, the Jedi arrive on the ship, and they're led by Jedi Knight Yord and another Jedi. It seems Yord used to have feelings for Osha, or they used to be close friends. He says he never thought he'd see her again. He kind of fills the audience on what the story is. Osha left the Jedi Order 6 years ago. She was found in a fire when she was around 8, and then they accuse her of killing a Jedi Master. But of course, it was her twin, but none of them know this yet. They take her in a prison transport for questioning to Coruscant. It's nice to see Coruscant again, as Master Sol trains younglings. Then he speaks with Master Vernestra. The backstory is that Sol saved Osha and saved her from a fire on her home on Brendok as a kid. He doesn't believe that she killed the Jedi Master Trinity. They decide to keep this possibility hush-hush, as if it were to leak, their political enemies could use it against them. Now, I think they're keeping it hush-hush kind of within the Jedi Council. I don't think they would keep this from Master Yoda. Osha is on the drop ship. It eventually goes down and she escapes. After saving one of the last inmates, he takes the last pod and she crash lands on some ice planet. As Master Sol observes his former apprentice's hologram, we see how he has still got this attachment to her. He's like a much more weak version of Qui-Gon Jinn, in my opinion. He kind of does his own thing, but he's not as confident or stoic as Qui-Gon. He's a little more emotional, I feel like. He recognizes that the Jedi aren't always right, and I think that's cool. He definitely steals the show. Osha wakes up and she has a vision of May and herself when they were young, during the fire on their home world on Brendok. They speak with each other, and I feel like there's some sort of force connection, force dyad thing going on between them to facilitate this. Because they're answering each other's questions here, so it's, there's some sort of a telepathy. Even though they don't know that one or the other is alive. I guess until now. Sol gathers 2 other Jedi, Yord and Daphne Keen's character Jeki, who is a Padawan, which is indicated with her braid. He tells the story of Osha and May, revealing that they are twin sisters and that May started a fire when they were kids. This fire killed their whole family. Jeki says, "Oh, so do you think that May is alive and could be the one?" And Master Sol says, "No, she's dead." They find Osha on the ice planet. She tells them if she didn't kill the Jedi Master. Sol believes her when she says that May did it. He says, "I know." I guess that was a pretty quick switch up. May walks by the beach as she comes to her master, who is saying a Jedi is essentially invincible to metal or lightsabers. Except against an Acolyte who fights without a weapon and just stealths their way through everything. An Acolyte kills the dream. So obviously, an Acolyte doesn't need a weapon because they need to stay stealthy and under the radar, and a lightsaber is anything but that. I'd also imagine that not using a lightsaber or any sort of weapon is kind of like passing a test. It's like a rite of passage. You do this, you kill those Jedi Masters without any sort of weapon, and you will probably become a Sith or something. Overall, I thought it was pretty basic, pretty meh. The writing, in my opinion, wasn't really all that interesting. I'm not invested in the characters just yet, and I'm not saying I won't be. It just takes some time, and that's how it works. You can't just start killing people off and expecting the viewer to be totally invested in the death of these characters right away. You have to spend maybe 1 episode, maybe 2, to get used to them, to build their story, let us connect with them. Much like in Game of Thrones. Then in episode 3 or 4 or something, then start dropping them like flies, and everything just takes off super fast because of the exposition from the first 2 episodes. I've already seen episode 2, and I think episode 1 was better. Now I'm gonna go and do the episode 2 breakdown, so hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll give my full sentiments as well in another video, and we'll start, really cracking down on the nitty-gritties, how we do on this channel, as always. Hope you enjoyed this breakdown. And whether you like the show or you don't, good for you. Just be polite about it. See you all in the next video. Until then, remember the Force will be with you, always.